Imagine waking up one day and realizing that everything in your life, your choices, your fears, how you react to others, wasn't truly in your control. What if the decisions you've been making, the emotions you've been feeling, weren't actually yours to make at all? Carl Jung believed that inside of you, there's a hidden force at work, shaping your life in ways you don't even realize. He called this force the shadow self. This is the part of you that you try to suppress, the thoughts you don't want to acknowledge, the emotions you push aside, the things you'd rather pretend don't exist. But here's the truth. Ignoring your shadow doesn't make it go away. In fact, the more you try to avoid it, the more power it gains over you, pulling your strings from the shadows. Jung famously said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." So, here's the big question. Are you really in control of your life? Or is it your shadow self that's secretly calling the shots? What if all those irrational reactions, fears, and doubts aren't just part of who you are, but the hidden influence of your shadow, shaping your life in ways you can't even see? It's time to take a step back and ask yourself, how much of your life is truly yours to control? And how much is driven by the unseen force of your own shadow self? By the end of this video, you'll not only understand what the shadow self is, but also learn how to confront it before it consumes you completely. Have you ever reacted to something and later wondered, why did I do that? Maybe you got irrationally angry at someone, felt sudden jealousy, or sabotaged a good opportunity without knowing why. Carl Jung believed that these unconscious reactions come from your shadow self, the hidden part of your mind that holds everything you have been conditioned to ignore. He once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." But what does that really mean? The shadow self is made up of all the emotions, desires, and thoughts that society, family, or even you have rejected. As a child, maybe you were told, "Don't be selfish, nice people don't get angry, you should not want too much." So, what did you do? You pushed those feelings down. You pretended they didn't exist. But here's the problem. Ignoring your shadow does not make it disappear. Instead, it lurks beneath the surface, influencing your choices without you even knowing it. It makes you judge others for things you secretly see in yourself. It causes self-sabotage when success feels uncomfortable. It creates fears and insecurities that seem to come from nowhere. And the worst part? Most people never even realize it's happening. But here's the truth. Your shadow self is not your enemy. It's a part of you, and until you face it, it will continue to control your life from behind the scenes. So, how do you confront your shadow? How do you take back control? The first step is understanding what it really is, and that's exactly what we are about to uncover. Carl Jung's shadow self is not just a concept. It is a hidden force that shapes your thoughts, actions, and relationships every single day. Think of your mind like an iceberg. The part above the water, that's your conscious self, the version of you that you show to the world. But beneath the surface lies something much bigger, something more powerful, something you have spent your whole life trying to ignore. This is your shadow self. But where does it come from? From the moment you were born, you were taught what is acceptable and what is not. As a child, if you cried too much, you were told to stop being weak. If you got angry, you were scolded. Good kids don't act like that. If you spoke up too much, you were labeled arrogant or selfish. So, what did you do? You pushed those parts of yourself down. You learned to suppress the emotions, desires, and instincts that did not fit society's mold of who you should be. This is how your shadow self is formed. But here's the problem. What you suppress does not disappear. It simply moves into the unconscious, where it waits. And one day, when you least expect it, it comes back, controlling you from behind the scenes. Ignoring your shadow does not make you a better person. It makes you a person who is ruled by emotions you don't understand. Here's how your shadow controls your life without you even knowing it. Projection. Seeing your own flaws in others. If you have been taught that anger is bad, you might feel irritated by people who express their emotions freely. If you secretly wish you had more confidence, you might resent people who stand out. The things we judge most harshly in others are often the things we refuse to acknowledge in ourselves. Self-sabotage, blocking your own success. Have you ever gotten a great opportunity and then suddenly found a way to mess it up? Have you ever rejected love, even though it's what you wanted? Have you ever procrastinated on something important, even when you knew it was hurting you? This is your shadow keeping you trapped. Uncontrollable emotional reactions. Ever snapped at someone over something small? Ever felt irrationally jealous? Ever had a deep fear of failure even when things were going well? That's not just your personality, that's your shadow taking over. And here's the scariest part. Most people never realize this is happening. This is not just psychology. It has been happening for centuries. Socrates was sentenced to death for simply asking too many questions. His ideas forced people to confront uncomfortable truths about themselves, and instead of facing those truths, they silenced him. Jung believed that the shadow reveals itself in our dreams, fears, and relationships. If you have ever had a recurring nightmare or an unexplained fear, your shadow might be trying to send you a message. Nia warned that the more we suppress our true nature, the more we risk self-destruction. He called this the will to power, the idea that when we deny parts of ourselves, they eventually explode out of us in destructive ways. Your shadow is not evil. It's just a part of you that's been ignored for too long. The more you suppress it, the stronger it gets. The more you fear it, the more it controls you. So, the real question is, how do you take back control? The answer lies in shadow work. Let me tell you a story. Michael was always known as the nice guy. He was polite, agreeable, and always put others before himself. Whenever conflict arose, he would step back. Whenever someone took credit for his work, he would brush it off. People admired him for his kindness, but what they didn't see was the storm building inside him. Deep down, Michael felt resentment. He felt invisible. He saw people who were selfish and aggressive get ahead in life, while he stayed stuck, always being the one who was overlooked. But he never admitted this to himself. He couldn't. From a young age, he had been taught that anger was bad, that standing up for yourself was selfish, that being too ambitious was arrogant. So every time he felt frustration, he buried it. Every time he felt jealousy, he pushed it away. Every time he wanted to speak up, he stayed silent. He thought he was being a better person, but in reality, his shadow self was growing stronger. One day, Michael was at work when his boss unfairly blamed him for a mistake. Normally, he would have smiled, nodded, and apologized, just like he always did. But this time, something snapped. Before he even realized what he was doing, he lashed out. "Why do I always get treated like this? I work harder than anyone here, and yet I'm the one who gets blamed. I'm done." The entire office fell silent. His co-workers looked shocked. Even his boss seemed taken aback. Michael was shaking. His heart was racing. He had never spoken like this before. His boss, instead of arguing, simply said, "Where did that come from?" And in that moment, Michael realized this wasn't just about today. This wasn't just about his job. This was years of suppressed emotions finally breaking free. This was his shadow self taking control. That night, Michael couldn't sleep. He replayed the moment over and over in his head. Where did that come from? And then it hit him. This was always there. His anger, his frustration, his desire to be seen, to be heard. He had spent his whole life suppressing it, pretending it didn't exist. But the more he buried it, the stronger it became. And today, it finally exploded. Michael had spent his entire life being controlled by his shadow self, without even realizing it. But now he saw it, and that changed everything. Michael's story is not unique. How many times have you felt an extreme emotion and thought, "Why did I act like that?" How many times have you looked at someone and felt irritated for no reason? How many times have you sabotaged yourself just when things were going well? This is not random. This is your shadow self pulling the strings. And until you face it, it will keep controlling you. But how do you confront your shadow? How do you stop it from taking over? Now that you understand what the shadow self is and how it silently influences your life, the real question is, how do you take back control? Carl Jung believed that the key to breaking free from unconscious patterns lies in something called shadow work. But here's what most people get wrong. Shadow work isn't about destroying your shadow. It's not about eliminating your fears, anger, or insecurities. Instead, it's about understanding your shadow, integrating it, and transforming it into a source of power. Think of it like this. Your shadow is not a demon to be exorcised. It is an untamed part of you that must be understood. Here's how you can begin shadow work in 3 powerful steps. Have you ever met someone who immediately irritated you for no reason or reacted way too strongly to something small? Maybe you despise arrogance in others, yet deep down, you crave the confidence to speak your mind. Maybe you can't stand selfish people, but in reality, you were raised to always put others first, even at your own expense. Carl Jung believed that our biggest triggers reveal the parts of ourselves that we have been taught to suppress. This is called projection. Projection happens when we see in others what we refuse to see in ourselves. For example, if someone's ambition annoys you, it may be because you were taught that wanting success is selfish. If you constantly judge others for their laziness, maybe you were raised to always be productive and never allow yourself to rest. If someone's confidence bothers you, it could be because you were told to stay quiet and avoid attention. Here's how you start identifying your triggers. Pay attention to what makes you angry, jealous, or uncomfortable. Instead of judging others, ask yourself, what does this reaction say about me? Notice patterns. Are the people you dislike similar in a certain way? The uncomfortable truth is that the things we hate most in others are often the things we have buried in ourselves. And until you recognize this pattern, your shadow will keep controlling your emotions without you realizing it. Think of your mind as a house. The parts of yourself that you don't want to deal with, you lock them in the basement. You throw away the key, hoping they'll just disappear. But here's the thing. The more you suppress something, the stronger it becomes. And one day, when you least expect it, it will force its way out. This is why shadow journaling is so powerful. It's the process of unlocking that basement and finally facing what you've been avoiding. What is shadow journaling? It's when you write down your raw, unfiltered thoughts, the ones you'd never admit out loud, the ones that scare you, embarrass you, or make you uncomfortable. Here's how to do it. Find a quiet place where no one will see what you write. Ask yourself, what emotions do I suppress? Write down every dark, ugly, and uncomfortable thought that comes up without censoring yourself. Let yourself feel these emotions instead of pushing them away. You might uncover resentment you've buried for years, jealousy that you've disguised as not caring, fears that secretly influence every decision you make. And here's the truth. Your shadow isn't evil. It's just the part of you that was never accepted. And the more you listen to it, acknowledge it, and understand it, the less control it has over you. Most people try to fight their shadow. They say, I need to stop being angry, or I need to get rid of my fears. But Jung taught that true power doesn't come from rejection. It comes from integration. Your shadow isn't your enemy, it's a part of you. And like any abandoned child, all it wants is to be acknowledged. Think of it this way. If you ignore your shadow, it will control you. If you fight your shadow, it will fight back. But if you accept your shadow, you can finally take back your power. How do you integrate your shadow? When an emotion arises, don't suppress it. Instead of pushing anger away, ask, why do I feel this? Instead of denying jealousy, ask, what does this say about what I truly want? Talk to your shadow as if it were a separate part of you. Say, I see you, I accept you, but you do not control me. This simple act shifts power from your unconscious to your conscious mind. Use your shadow's energy as fuel. If your shadow holds anger, turn it into strength. If it holds insecurity, turn it into self-awareness. If it holds fear, turn it into courage. Because here's the secret. The moment you stop fearing your shadow, it loses its power over you. Shadow work is not about becoming someone new. It's about becoming whole. The truth is, you are not just your strengths. You are not just your light. You are also your darkness. And once you embrace that, you will finally be free. Carl Jung once said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Most people spend their lives feeling stuck, repeating the same mistakes, reacting in the same destructive ways, sabotaging their own success. They call it bad luck. They say, this is just how I am. But the truth is, it's not fate, it's not luck. It's their shadow controlling them from the depths of their mind. Now you have a choice. You can ignore your shadow, pretend it does not exist, and let it control you in ways you don't understand. Or you can face it, integrate it, and use it as a source of strength. The more you suppress your darkness, the more it controls you. But the more you accept it, the more free you become. Because here's the truth. Your shadow is not your enemy.